Welcome back, and now let's look at the message of Easter. Easter is the most important annual religious feast in Christendom. According to the scriptures, Jesus Christ rose from the dead on Easter morning and thence saved mankind. So what is the message of Easter? What is the significance of Easter in Christendom? We have three pastors in the studio with us this morning to help us analyze this and tell us exactly why Easter is the most important celebration in Christendom. It's my pleasure to welcome Pastor Jimmy Tewe of King's Word International Church, Lekki, as well as Pastor Israel Christy Leary of Shepherd Hill Baptist Church, and Pastor Laddie Thompson, founder, Living Waters Unlimited Church, Lagos. Good morning. Thank you
Pleasure
all
being here as well.
very much
Thank you.
for coming this Easter season. Now, let me begin with you, sir, Mr. Christy Leary. Why do we say that Easter is the most important celebration in the Christian's calendar?
I would say that is arguably.
It is.
Because some will tell you Christmas is the most important. Because if Christ was not born, he wouldn't have died. But to me, I will agree with you. Because if he was born and he didn't fulfill the purpose for which he was born, I think his birth will have been meaningless. So I agree with you. I'm only trying to let you know that there are people who don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. There are still arguments. Now, Christ came for the redemption of mankind. When man thought all hope was gone, and God had to find a way to redeem man to himself. Man couldn't help himself. And Easter is the period that commemorates the ultimate sacrifice that Jesus paid on the cross of Calvary for redemption of mankind. And when he got to that cross, he said, "It is finished. Nothing else could be done." So, as Christians, his death, his resurrection brings hope alive for us. And that is why, as Christians, we believe that his resurrection, inside that resurrection, in his resurrection, we have the power which makes the Christian religion, if I will use the word religion in this context, different from every other religion in the world.
Okay, now that is the belief of the conventional church. Am I correct? Now let's hear what the Pentecostals think, because they don't believe in Lent. So those 40 days of fasting for you guys is not the same for them. So do you believe what he just said?
Oh yes, I believe.
About the resurrection.
Oh yes, that's the truth about it. I think that the argument about Lent, and that's a bit different, and that might be denominational. The origin really is from the Catholic Church and then other Orthodox churches. But I grew up in an Orthodox church, and at some point in time I had my own personal transformation. I think that the idea of Lent is the fact that you're meant to take some time out to focus on God, to repent, but I think that this should be a day-to-day lifestyle, and that's the way a lot of Pentecostals view that also. So for me, a person participating in Lent, the most important thing is not just a season, but a lifestyle. That's the most important thing at the end of the day. So yes, I believe sincerely that yes, Jesus died and rose, and that gave redemption and salvation to man.
When you say...
Sorry, okay. What are your thoughts about this? The 40 days of Lent and then the resurrection.
Well, when you walk with God after a while, you tend to leave behind the quibbles and head for the substance.
The meat.
Yes, the meat of it. Now, what the Bible really says is that if they had known, the core of Easter for us is very simple. The Bible says if the princes of this world had known, they would never have crucified the Lord of glory. So of a truth, this is the engine room of the faith. In the celebration of Christmas, when God was sending his son, he was sending his son knowing that he was sending his son to die. So the appointment with death was actually what we have. This revelation of the cross. You see, without the revelation of the cross, there will have been no resurrection, no redemption, no reconciliation, no restoration, no restitution, no rejoicing. So truly, if we get past immediately the drama and just the story and the rhetorics of Easter, the core and most important thing is that Easter is where we celebrate the core strategy of the redemption of mankind.
So it's about strategy.
It's divine strategy.
Okay.
God had to pave way for man. Man couldn't help himself.
Okay.
So it's divine strategy.
Pastor Terry, when you were talking about the 40-day Lent and the relationship of that to today living, and Pastor Thompson's talked about the fact that you leave the quibbles and go for the meat and the bone of the matter. How has that worked out? Because there are those who will say, for how many times we've had to celebrate Easter, yet it's as if the decay in the system seems to get worse by the day. Yet, every year we have 40-day periods of fasting for the Orthodox. We have everyday fasting and prayer for the Pentecostals. But the decay is still there. How does that work?
Well, I think that one of the challenges we have in the church today is the fact that there should be a re-emphasis on the core of the gospel, and which is meant to also lead to personal transformation. So it's not about attendance at church. It's not about just the doing of the things that is expected of believers, but the transformation. I believe that, the fact that Jesus died and rose is the fact that also we are meant to become like him in the things we do on a day-to-day basis, and that should be reflected at home, at work, and every other area. And so, we that we're given a responsibility to lead people, it's our responsibility to let them know that it's not just about the fact you will make heaven. You're actually meant to bring heaven on earth. All right, and that's very important, and that should reflect in every area. So it is. I would say that there is a greater need for that to be emphasized. All right, rather than just some of the theoretical parts to the gospel. There is an impact that is expected out of that. And I think that should be preached a whole lot more now.
Now, let me make a little correction. Baptists are not Orthodox churches. We are evangelicals.
Okay.
We are the gateway between the Orthodox and the Pentecostals. Period.
Okay.
Now, we don't observe Lent as Baptists. I need to say that. The 40 days we don't. It's not like a ritual we follow. But we are not opposed to those who observe it. To me, the Lent is more like a ritual. It was used at the time Easter was first calculated to represent the Passover, and they said, okay, let's fast some days, culminating into the Good Friday, beginning with the Roman Catholic Church, like he said, and other churches that followed. Now, to me, there's nothing wrong with a ritual if that ritual truly transforms you.
Okay.
But ritual for ritual's purposes, like you have said now, is of no use. So, if truly people are transformed during this period and they let it carry on in their other lives after the period of fasting, it will have been meaningful. But like he has said, it should be a daily affair. Each man reflecting on the essence of this period, the sacrifice of Jesus, and the kind of life he lived, and we live that kind of life daily, then it will be meaningful.
Okay.
But unfortunately, that is not what we are saying.
Pastor Thompson, Easter, as you said, is like the bedrock of the Christian faith. But there are those who argue that Easter is not in the Bible. So why should Christians be celebrating Easter? Indeed, there are some denominations that don't even celebrate Easter.
True. Like I did say, we don't quibble much about such things because there's a policy that God himself wrote. In the New Testament, God says, look, one man esteems one day as special unto the Lord. Another man esteems all days as equal. The